Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to City Council briefing session. And we'll start. We have a lot of items on the 30th, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Ormsby in just a moment, but Councilmember Mumm suggested on a few of them we might want to, if they're inconsequential, we might want to put them on the 3:30 agenda for next week, just to save more time for the ones where people are going to want to testify. So I'll revisit that. But with that, Mr. Ormsby, take it away.
Do you want me to do a roll call?
Oh, before you do that,
President, did you want to do the roll call first?
Yep, I did, actually. Madam Clerk.
Council President Beggs,
Present.
Councilmember Burke,
Here.
Councilmember Cathcart,
Present.
Councilmember Kinnear,
Present.
Councilmember Mumm,
Here.
Councilmember Stratton,
Here.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Present.
Let the record reflect that all council members are present.
All right, Mr. Ormsby.
Thank you, Council President, members of the council, and fellow staff members. The consent agenda for next Monday, November 30th, for reports, contracts, and claims. First, we have a recommendation for a purchase for replacement pumps and motors for the Park Water Well Station, and Jim Sakamoto from the Water Department is here to present that.
Good afternoon. Item number one is the bid for the purchase of vertical turbine replacement pumps and motors for the Park Water Well Station. The pumps and motors were bid in October with bids opening on October 26th. There were 4 responsive bids, and the lowest responsive bid was Triangle Pump and Equipment as the lowest responsive bidder. The total purchase price is $541,448.48, which includes tax. Staff has reviewed the bids and recommends approval. Are there any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Next, we have 2 value blanket renewal recommendations for the waste energy plant, and Chris Avert is here to present those items.
Good afternoon. Today I'm seeking approval for a 1-year value blanket renewal with North Star Chemical for the purchase of sodium hydroxide for treatment of the boiler feed water at the waste energy facility. This contract is not to exceed $66,000. And the second item is a 1-year value blanket with WEMCO for the as-needed purchase of spare mechanical components for the bridge cranes at the waste energy facility. This value blanket is not to exceed $100,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And now we have a recommendation on another value blanket renewal with Action Materials for recycling and the purchase of recycling materials. And Mike Loudon is here to present this item.
Good afternoon. This item is for renewal of the value blanket with Action Materials for debris recycling and recycled materials purchase, primarily used by streets, water, and wastewater. And it's not to exceed $300,000. This is also the last of a 4-year annual renewal option, which will run through 2021. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Now we have a recommendation on another value blanket order with Norco for miscellaneous compressed gases for various city departments over a 5-year period. And Sally Stouffer, although I don't, oh, there's Sally. Sally Stouffer is here to present this item.
Good afternoon, Council. As Mike said, this is a 5-year citywide value blanket with Norco for the purchase of the various compressed gases on an as-needed basis. The expected yearly expenditure for this is $75,000. Questions?
Okay. Thank you, Sally. Next, we have another value blanket renewal with Spokane House of Hose, and David Payne is here to present this item.
Thank you, Mr. Ormsby. Afternoon, Council President, Council members. Fleet Services requested approval of a 2-year value blanket renewal. This value blanket is for our Keep Fill system for the hydraulics, hose, and fittings for the Spokane House of Hose. The value blanket is estimated to have an expenditure of not to exceed $120,000, including taxes. Any questions?
Thanks, David. Now we have two recommended contracts for IT services, and Teresa Pelham from the IT department is here to present these two items.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Council. There are two contracts with CompuNet, one for the upgrade and improvement of our remote access and website functionality by the purchase of Cisco and F5 network hardware for a total of $88,107.78, including tax. And the second one is the upgrade and improvement of core infrastructure network hardware with Cisco network hardware maintenance and support, utilizing the Washington State NASPO contract for $507,000, $550.48, including tax. Any questions? Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Next, we have a contract renewal for the Water Stewardship and Stormwater program for media services, and Kristen Zimmer is here to present this item for council consideration.
We can't hear you, Kristen. Still not. You're not muted. I wonder if is your microphone working? Nope. Still can't hear you this time.
Maybe your headphones are doing something.
Are you muted on your phone, Kristen? No.
Kristen, why don't we come back to you and maybe you can call into the meeting and then we'll get you.
Okay. Next, we have two local area A&E professional service consultant agreements, and Dan Bowler from Engineering Services is here to present these items and respond to any questions the council may have. Well, I don't see Dan, so let me follow up on where he is. And we'll move to the next item, and that is a proposed contract with Parametrics to provide a sewer lift station assessment, and Beryl Fredrickson is here to present that item.
Good afternoon, Council and Council President. I'm here to present the contract for about the sewer stations around Spokane. We already completed our RFQ, had selected Parametrics as the contractor that we're hoping to work with. The budget is $640,000, and we're expected to be completed in really the first quarter of 2023. And hopefully they will review possible temporary repairs, proposed long-term repairs, and full replacement of lift stations that are at or nearing their end of their life cycle. And specifically, it's going to review electrical, structural, the pump capacity, and things like that. Do you have any questions for me?
Not for me.
Thanks, Beryl. Next, we have a proposed consulting agreement with Jacobs Engineering to perform a risk assessment on the city's wastewater and stormwater systems, and Marcia Davis is here to present this item.
Good afternoon, Council President. This is a contract that will be with Jacobs Engineering Group that's been selected through the city's procurement process to perform the engineering work. The contract total amount is $80,458. We expect this work to be finished before the end of 2021. Our target is October 2021. The purpose of this study is to conduct a risk assessment of the city's wastewater and stormwater systems, which will result in prioritization of what problems or risks the city should invest in addressing. Through this, we'll come up with a risk framework that will consist of elements of consequence and likelihood of failure, and from there we'll be able to rate and rank these projects. Any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcia. Next, we have a proposed contract with the Northwest, or it should be Northeast PDA for an uncommitted portion of community investment plan funds. And Scott Simmons, our acting city administrator, is hopefully here to present this.
I am Mike.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Council President and council members. This item was briefed by Councilmember Cathcart and myself at today's Pipes Committee. This is an agreement that disperses the remaining $100,000 of funds to the NEPDA. That was part of the community investment plan that was adopted by City Council back in 2017 that allocated $5.4 million to our public development authorities, $2 million of which went to the NEPDA. $1.9 million of that has been committed under existing developer agreements, and the NEPDA board has requested the remaining dispersal of $100,000 for investment in infrastructure and economic development planning. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Scott. Chris Averitt is back again to present a recommendation regarding the American Recycling Corporation for the sale of waste energy facility metals, ash, and scrap metals.
Thank you. This is a contract renewal with American Recycling Corporation for the sale of metal recovered post-combustion and scrap metals from the tipping floor. This is a one-year contract renewal and is expected to generate approximately $70,000 in revenue. Can I proceed to the next one, Mike?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. The next item is a one-year contract with Faust Fabrication for as-needed repairs to the grapples on the refuse cranes at the waste energy facility. This contract is not to exceed $85,000. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Next, we have the final two proposed items are the report of the mayor on pending claims and payments, both with and without Parks and Library, and also the placeholder for City Council meeting minutes, and those blanks will be completed prior to the meeting next week. And I have heard from Dan Buller that he is logging in.
All right, let's try Kristen.
Oh, I see Dan.
I am here. My apologies. Completely spaced it. Shall I brief my item?
Yeah,
please. You've got two, Dan. It's item number 9 on the agenda.
So we have this on-call contracts for the non-federal aid for the consultants that you see in front of you. We've got a couple of contracts for the geo tech for the amounts you have. All the other ones have a single contract. The geotech has 2 contracts on account of the size, on account of its size. Next week we'll have a couple more for construction management. Those aren't here yet. Any questions on those items?
No. Okay. And Mike, maybe we could try Kristen, see if she's back.
Yes, she has. She's just contacted me saying she is now ready to go again. Right. So Kristen is got item 8, which is the contract renewal for the media services for water stewardship. Kristen?
Hello, can you hear me now? I'm on the phone.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yay! Okay, excellent.
A big victory.
So this is item 8 for the contract renewal for Rogue Heart Media. This renews our existing conservation and stormwater media and education services for a total cost not to exceed $100,000. Staff recommends approval of contract renewal. Do you have any questions?
Oh.
Nope.
Hi.
Council President, I think Councilmember Mumm does.
Yeah, it's actually not a question, more of a comment. I just was so impressed that out of, 90 applicants for this, that we chose the local applicant. And Councilmember Stratton, I can see her smiling and nodding her head because she's been familiar with this applicant who's done so much for the Mineral Strait, incredible amount of volunteering and volunteer work. So just really excited that they beat him out. Out of 90, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you. Now we're ready to move on to the legislative agenda. And first is a special budget ordinance regarding the transfer of funds for work at the Intermodal Center, which I believe has previously been briefed in committee, but Councilmember Mumm is the sponsor of this, and Dave Steele from Asset Management is also here to respond to any questions that council members may have.
Council President, I'll just make a comment if I might. I dug into this with Dave. We tried to find as many coins in the cushions as we could.
Hello, council members. This is Steele.
Anyway, I just wanted to state that I'm reluctantly supporting this, but it's something we have to do. It's something we have to pay for. And I think Dave will explain. He'll be bringing forward some alternatives for us for this location that continues to drive down our funds.
Thanks. Sounds like we're almost on track.
Yeah, council.
Go ahead, Dave.
Currently, we are Tanya Wallace. Yeah, we're familiar with the location.
You're kind of breaking up, Dave. We're not really hearing you.
It's long been that. All right. Just make it worse.
We can't really hear him. All right, I think we should move on.
Okay.
We'll catch you. We'll
Dave,
catch you next time.
I'll follow up with you if there's additional information that we should put together to get to the council in writing.
Yep.
Now we move to resolutions and final reading ordinances, and the first is a proposed resolution regarding amendments to the City of Spokane's legislative agenda for the 2021 legislative session, and Policy and Political Director McClatchy is the presenter for this item.
Good afternoon, Council. This is an update to the 2021.
Can you speak up a little, Brian?
Oh, sorry. This is an update on the 2021 state legislative priorities in Tier 1 to add the Leaf Heritage Project. I believe the emergency communications funding issue was already on the agenda from before. And removing barriers to local transportation funding, I believe, is a new item as well.
Okay. Great. Any questions on that? Oh.
Okay.
Any questions on that? No. Okay.
Next, we have the first of many items for Eldon Brown. This relates to the setting of a public hearing for January 4th for a vacation of an alley and Eldon.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'll see if I can get it up here on the screen. Everybody see that one?
Yep.
Yeah, this is an alley in kind of the east central area out there between Helena, Medelia, from Sprague to the Riverside. And what they would like to do is vacate the crosshatched area. Previously, that alley used to go all the way through between Helena and Medelia, and back in the mid-'80s, it was vacated on the western side there and rerouted to the north. At this point in time, there's two applicants basically in there who own all the property. They would like to consolidate that property for development purposes. In there, we have calculated the value of that vacation to be roughly $29,500. We do not have any city utilities in that alley, but Vista, I think Comcast and Zayo requested that we retain easements as part of that vacation, and then we'd have to look at how they close the alley off for the closure requirements for vacation. Otherwise, it looks like staff would recommend vacation of that alley. Be happy to answer any questions.
I'm looking for a motion to change this to the 3:30 meeting next week.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any,
Aye.
any opposed, nay? Abstentions? All right, we'll hear that resolution at 3:30. Thanks.
And Council President, Paul and Josie is on the phone and has to get off at 4 o'clock. And as you know, the continuation of the public hearing on the proposed budget has been continued through till December 7th, but he's here to answer any questions if anyone has any before he has to jump off the phone. I just thought I'd jump in since we're close to 4 o'clock.
Yep. Anyone have any questions? All right.
And Paul wanted me to make it clear that he's always available to answer any questions that you might have.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll go back into the regular order. The next two ordinances are ordinances relating to rate increases that the council that have been briefed previously that I believe have been continued until the meeting next week, or to December 7th, excuse me. Scott is here, but I think that we've discussed this at least on two previous occasions.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that Councilmember Kinnear and I and Scott Simmons and legal discussed this. We wanted to make sure there was enough money to invest in street trees that would reduce the runoff and thus help the utility. And it appears that there is enough money within this rate structure. And so we just wanted a chance to confirm that before. So it should not be very complex. So just those were the questions. That's why we deferred it till Monday, next Monday. Any other questions? Nope. All right, carry on.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we're good on that.
Next is the Yellowstone Pipeline franchise agreement, and I understand that is going to be further deferred, and I'll defer to the council president on that.
So you might remember last time we discussed, Councilmember Kinnear was wondering, did we get answers to our questions? And just wanted to make it clear that both she and I understood those were not questions we were looking to get answers from staff. They had already provided all the answers. We still have not gotten all the questions, but I did meet with the operator of the pipeline, which is actually Phillips 66, on Friday, and they shared some information, which was helpful, and they offered to gather additional information and share it with council at a study session after the first of the year. So I think it will be helpful on that, and as well, Mr. McClatchy has also got a potential ordinance that would assist us in approving these types of franchise agreements going forward, and I believe he's just about, if not has gotten some input from city legal on that, and he's going to share it with the rest of council. So I am looking for a motion to defer this until January 25th, which is a Monday.
So moved.
Is there a second? Councilmember Cathcart, second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Council President, I would just add, I also met with them last week and had a great conversation on a number of these topics, and so it seemed to me that they'd be pretty helpful in getting that information.
Yeah, I think one thing, just as a teaser for the study session, one of the things they pointed out is that the current river crossing is older pipe, and they have a proposal to put in much safer river crossing as part of this, but they're waiting again to get permission through the franchise agreement, and that in and of itself would be a huge improvement at the most vulnerable part. But there's a lot of other information that they can provide us as well. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of deferring it until January 25th indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? Abstentions? All right, that's deferred. We're back. Well, back to you, Mr. Ormsby.
Thank you, Council President. Next, Eldon is back to discuss the potential vacation of various rights-of-way in conjunction with the construction of the new middle school in Northeast Spokane off Foothills Drive. Eldon.
Yeah, can everybody see this one?
Yes.
Previous vacation for the Northeast Middle School. And the applicant has fulfilled all the conditions of that vacation. One of the things we did have still in there, we had a fiber line that ran down the middle of Denver Street in there. And that fiber line has got relocated. So they basically fulfilled the conditions of that vacation, and we're just before you for final reading. Be happy to answer any questions of that one.
Any questions for Eldon? All right, I am looking for a motion to defer this ordinance until 3:30 next Monday.
Council President, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor of moving it to 3:30 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Abstentions? All right, that matters. Deferred to 3:30. Mr. Ormsby.
Okay. Thank you, Council President. Next, we have a proposed ordinance sponsored by Councilwoman Stratton regarding additional authorized golf cart zones, which was discussed at the last session. And I don't know, Councilwoman Stratton, if you have anything further to mention in advance of next week's meeting.
I will just say that earlier today I sent out a briefing paper with maps and questions, a Q&A sheet. I didn't do a very good job last week, so let me go over this really quick. In 2009, the Washington State Legislature, via a RCW, started allowing local governments to create golf cart zones. The first one went in over in the Hilliard area. And what we're seeing is neighborhoods that really want to increase mobility at a low cost and encourage local business development. Having said that, we had several meetings with the West Central and the Kendall Yards neighborhoods requesting a golf cart zone. In those meetings, we met with members of Kendall Yards, we met with members of the West Central Community Center Neighborhood Council, we met with folks on the Centennial Trail Board and the state parks as well to talk about signage, maps, all of that I sent you. So we are moving that forward with the addition of two other areas, Eagle Ridge and Manitou, that would like to have golf cart zones as well. So I sent all that information to everybody. If you have questions, you can let myself or Brian know. And also, I don't know if Lori, if Councilmember Kinnear wants to add anything with the other two neighborhoods or not.
Sure. I would say mine are a lot simpler than yours because we're not crossing arterials, it's right. Confined. And I would also add that some of the questions that Councilmember Mumm posed are things I think we can add into the ordinance so that the safety factor is there and we're assured that people are safe when they're using golf carts or whatever small conveyance they are using, that they have all the bells and whistles to make them safe, and to make sure when they're crossing an arterial that it's a designated zone, so it's marked.
Correct.
I think that's important. I think we were looking at Broadway, something where you could just designate one spot where, crossing, it's like, deer crossing, so that people knew what to expect.
Thank you for bringing that up. Councilmember Mumm asked some very, very good questions, and Brian McClatchy is in the process of getting those answered now. But you're absolutely correct. That was one of the big issues that came up in our discussions regarding signage and how important that is going to be because of that crossing. So they're able to cross arterials. They're not able to drive down arterials, but they certainly have to cross. So we'll have more information coming forward. Any questions that Brian or I can answer? Councilmember Caspar?
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if they can't drive down arterials now, why limit it to specific neighborhoods? Why not just allow it citywide?
Ryan, are you up there?
I am.
I think that the neighborhoods have to request it, don't they?
That was going to be my answer, is that these are based on specific neighborhood requests. I'm sure that some other neighborhoods might not want to have them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Real quick, thanks for letting me weigh in on the safety piece. I think, I'll wait to see what you and Lori bring forward. I think the weather piece is a little still concerning to me, how these types of vehicles will work in the kind of weather that we have, especially on steep hills. And I guess that kind of goes to my question on the mapping. If you've got any information about how the zones were created, that might help us a little bit in determining if there are going to be future requests from other neighborhoods, sort of what qualifies that request or what area. I understand in a PUD where you've got designed roadways that are perhaps narrower, but interfacing with regular cars, but, I see that kind of leading out on some of these requests. It's pretty far away from the PUDs or the confined areas. So maybe you can give me some idea offline how we determine the size of these zones and where.
Absolutely, but I will say that in all of those meetings, we had somebody from the street department represented in those meetings, helping us kind of line out those maps. So we can talk offline, but we definitely have Bob Turner was in those meetings with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, our next item is a proposed imposition of a sales and use tax for attainable housing, and this issue has been previously discussed, but Mr. McClatchy is here. If anyone has any additional issues or questions they'd like to raise in advance of next week.
The one thing I would like to point out is there will be a substitute version. All three sponsors are reviewing the tweaks as suggested, and so there will be a motion to substitute the new version to add some clarity on Monday.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Brian, I'm wondering, since we have this town hall tomorrow, part of which is focused on 1590, will that substitute be available for the public to digest before that meeting?
I can certainly make it available once the sponsors have given their okay, and I think most of the provisions that will fall into the substitute are acceptable or relatively non-controversial, so I don't imagine we couldn't. Councilmember Wilkerson, Stratton, Burke, unless there's an objection. I think that's a good idea.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Will do, Councilmember Cathcart.
Thank you, Nick. The next four ordinances relate to a public hearing that will be briefed next, and Inga has been before the council before briefing these issues, but is here again today if there are additional questions ahead of the hearing next week. And we'll get to that in the next section of the agenda. The next ordinance relates to parks and is also an issue that has been discussed in a number of committee meetings and a previous council meeting. But Councilmember Kinnear, as the sponsor of this, is present, and I believe also Garrett Jones from the Parks Department and Mary Miramatsu from City Legal are also here to respond to any questions or concerns that council may have.
I would add that when we first introduced this some months ago, it's gone through substantial changes and rewrites and revisions. We've met with the Human Rights Commission. We met with the Homeless Coalition. We've met with neighborhood groups. So done a lot of work, and based on that information that we got back from them, we've made changes. So I would let Garrett or Mary Miramatsu answer questions if you have them.
I had a question for you, Mary. The police department seemed to weigh in and say that they'd rather have the phrase drug paraphernalia rather than hypodermic needles. And I know that was the last draft didn't have that, but I'm just wondering what your response is to them on that, or if that's been changed or is going to be changed.
Yes. Hi, Council President. Thank you. Yes, that was a suggestion that was brought up by the Police Guild, and actually it works very well with this ordinance. So what I did was I simply took out the term hypodermic needles and substituted the language that had been recommended by the Guild. And so currently, if I can just read that sentence, essentially, rather than having those two separate paragraphs, one addressing the distribution of needles and one addressing the distribution of or use of drug paraphernalia, rather, there's just one paragraph now that says, I just lost it for a second. Okay, got it again. It says, for the safety and protection of all park users, the use and distribution of drug paraphernalia is prohibited in city parks. In addition to penalties provided in state or local law, violators shall be subject to exclusion from one or more parks for 1 year. And so, honestly, I think this is an excellent change, and it really does accomplish a lot of purposes. I know, Council President, you had concerns about reiterating laws that were already in place. So the nice thing about this new revision is that it eliminates that problem. It doesn't look as though we're trying to create anything new in the parks, but it does definitely preserve the intent. So I appreciate everyone's input, and I think that this definitely accomplishes the intent that we're looking for.
Great.
And if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I appreciate all those changes. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything further regarding this proposed ordinance? And a lot of work, as Councilwoman Kinnear said, has gone into it. So thanks to all who participated. Now we go to first reading ordinances. And this ordinance relates to a number of revisions to the fire code. And Lance Dahl from the Spokane Fire Department is here to present this item and respond to any questions that members of the council may have. Lance.
Thank you, Mr. Ormsby, Council President, and council members.
Terry.
This is the first time I've got to do this, so bear with me. We sent out a briefing paper, a white paper. I don't know if everybody got a chance to read that or not, along with the code changes. For the most part, it's changes that were already adopted by the state that affect our local Spokane municipal codes, where we can be more restrictive, and adopting or readopting the appendices. The state code, fire code, and building codes change about every 3 years. So this is the 2018 version that we're updating from the 2015 version that was supposed to have been adopted back in July. And with COVID, it's been put off to November, and then it was put off to the first of the year.
Any questions for Lance?
Mike, I don't know if it's in your world, but the clerk notified me that there are two ordinances that we need to consider adding as first reading to this. They've been distributed. One is Ordinance C35990. The other is 35991. Both have to do with bid assessment hearings or something like that. And Chris Green is going to present on both of them. I thought he could present, and then we'd take a motion to suspend the rules and then to add them. Chris is here. I think he is.
Yes. Thank you, Council President. Chris?
Yes, thank you. So these are two ordinances that would implement the 2021 updates for the bid assessments for the downtown and East Sprague bids. So these are their annual adjustments for inflation. There'd be a public hearing on December 7th to review and adopt the assessment rolls. And that's also the hearing where Bid Management presents their annual management plans for the upcoming year.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of suspending the rules indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, the rules are suspended. Is there a motion to add ordinance C35990 and C35991 as first reading ordinances for November 30th?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, those are added as first reading ordinances. All right.
Thank you, Chris and Council President.
Thank you.
Now we go to public hearings. I think we already referenced the public hearing on the continuation of the budget. And next we have proposed public hearings on the ordinances relating to the revisions of the city's design standards. Inga has presented this at a previous meeting, but I note she's also here this afternoon if anyone has any additional questions or concerns prior to those hearings, which are scheduled for next week.
Nope. All right. Is there a motion to approve the advanced agenda as amended?
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, the advanced agenda is approved. That brings us to today's agenda, and I think the only issue I'm aware of is we need to add one item. We've already suspended the rules, but if you look at item 8, an amendment to our CARES Act funding agreement for Live Stories, providing them $409,035.48 to distribute to entities. I believe most of these are social service entities. These are ones that have already applied, and so it would just fund those last ones that have applied and gets us close to the end of our CARES grant allocations. I think there might be just a little bit more. But is there a motion to add item 8 to tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adding to our agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, that's added. And then with that, Madam Clerk, if you'd like to read the consent agenda, and we'll take a vote on it.
Reports, contracts, and claims. Number 1, Spokane Airport Board 2021 budget. Number 2, purchases by fleet operations for the wastewater department from A. Kenworth Sales, Spokane, Washington, of a tank truck using the Sourcewell contract number 081716 KTC, $185,419, including tax. B. Freightliner, Spokane, Washington, of a service truck, $82,287.46, including tax. C. Columbia Ford, Longview, Washington, of a service truck using Washington State Contract 05916, $60,499.12, including tax. Number 3, 1-year contract renewal for fleet services with A. Raycom Corporation for the installation of radio and electrical equipment, $150,000. B. Wingfoot Commercial Tire Systems, LLC, using Washington State Contract 00519, $150,000. Number 4, local area A&D professional services consultant agreements for 2021-2022 non-federal aid projects with A. Tierra Right-of-Way Ltd., Spokane, Washington, for historic resource on-call services, not to exceed $200,000, various neighborhoods. B. Buttinger and Associates, Spokane, Washington, for geotechnical engineering on-call services, not to exceed $400,000. C. Common Street Consulting, LLC, Spokane, Washington, for real estate on-call consulting services, not to exceed $200,000. D, Parametrics Incorporated, Spokane, Washington, for on-call surveying services not to exceed $150,000. E, Geoengineering Incorporated, Spokane, Washington, for geotechnical engineering on-call services not to exceed $800,000, all for various neighborhoods. Number 5, recommendation to list the Webster Building, 415 West Sprague Avenue on the Spokane Register of Historic Places. Number 6, report of the mayor pending any claims and payments of previously approved obligations, including those of Parks and Library through November 13, 2020. Total $4,523,863.50 with Parks and Library claims approved with the respective boards. Warrants excluding Parks and Library total $3,334,923.91. B, payroll claims of previously approved obligations through November 14, 2020, $7,859,362.74. Number 7, City Council meeting minutes for November 9 and November 12, 2020. Item number 8, amendment to the CARES Act funded agreement with Gioco doing business as Live Stories for business relief funding, $409,035.48.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right. Consent agenda as amended is approved. We'll see everyone back here at 6 p.m. for a fairly significant meeting, as it turns out. Not as much as the following Monday, but you better fuel up, and we'll see you at 6 p.m. We're adjourned. Thanks.